Okay, our next speaker is going to talk about relaxation, meditation, and self-hypnosis. She is Irene Cauwels. She's a licensed clinical professional counselor. She's certified in alcohol and drug counseling. She has she's an advanced clinical hypnotherapist. She's a national certified counselor. She's passionate about helping people gain skills to live to their highest, healthiest lives. So she's a therapist at Alexian Brothers Behavioral Health Hospital. And welcome. We're looking forward to your discussion.
Good morning. It is such an honor for me to be here with each one of you. You know, I went through the tables today and I listened. Did I go get out of the sight? I listened. Can you turn that up a little? I went through the tables and I heard such exciting conversations of women here getting empowered, taking care of themselves. That is so wonderful that you're taking time to be here. And I also want to thank Alexian Brothers for the work that they do. You know, I went to Alexian kind of on a dare because I hated hospitals, and it was about me getting over a fear of being working in a mental health hospital because I watched Cuckoo's Nest. And you know, I was kind of afraid if I got there, they'd keep me. And they did, but they kept me in a different way because I got so excited of working with women and empowering them and working with men as well. But I work in the Center for Addiction Medicine, and in the mental health world, a lot of people treat addictions and depression and diseases like Asperger's and that as almost a death sentence. And what I've learned is that those are simply diseases that we can manage and we can do a lot of work with. So I'm so honored that Alexian has allowed me to take some of these techniques and use them in the hospital. And we've had really tremendous success in helping people learn how to take control of themselves, how to manage themselves, how to manage their moods a little different. And so that's what I'd like to do today. You know, we talked a little bit, I'm in the lights, so I have to watch how I'm looking. Thank you. They talked earlier today about how stress really impacts us. You know, they talked about how Dr. Oz says if you want to know how stressful you are, just kind of take a look at your waist, you know, your measurements. That's because when we have stress, we have this hormone called cortisol. And cortisol kind of destroys, really messes up our ability to handle our food. And what it does is it takes a lot of the food that we have and it converts it into energy right here, and we store it. So it's not always that fun. And people say, well, I'm not stressed. You know, I don't have a lot of stress. But actually, in our culture, we have huge amounts of stress, and we don't even realize how stressed out we might actually be. What happens, you know, 43% of adults, when they did a survey through the Centers of Disease, they studied, and Americans said 43% I have high levels of stress. Yet when they talked to the medical field, what those doctors said is about 75 to 90% of people that come into their offices are there for stress-related illnesses, and that there's something that we can do about that. How do you know that you're stressed? You know, sometimes witnessing stress can be as important and have the same impact on us as experiencing it. So when you sit down in front of the TV and you watch these images, and they've just been so sad lately, you know, bombs and floods and things, that's actually causing stress in your body that you might not actually be aware of. We get signs that we're stressed out by becoming forgetful, having a hard time making decisions, becoming impatient. You know, if you want to see how stressed I am, watch me at the grocery store. Because if I'm in the grocery store and the lady in front of me digs out her checkbook, I become irrational. I'm like, you waited, you know, you knew you were going to check out, you waited, and it's at the very end of it, and now you're deciding to pay that way? You know, that's my warning sign that says, okay, Irene, you got to start doing the techniques that you teach other people to do. How else do you know if you're kind of having irritability, you know, headaches, sleep difficulties, back pain? This Dr. Saporsky wrote this book of why zebras don't get ulcers. And have you ever heard of that book? It's kind of neat because in the animal kingdom, you know, when a zebra's running along and all of a sudden a tiger comes after him and the zebra's lucky enough to survive, what does the zebra do? If he's lucky enough to survive, he goes like this and he gets rid of, no, I didn't get that. But he goes like this and he gets rid of all of his stress. So think about, do you actually have the opportunity and you're driving along and somebody cuts you off and you get kind of really afraid, do you have the opportunity to get out and go like this and get all that stress out of your body? Probably not. We may exercise, but sometimes the stress just gets into our systems and gets built. And there's other studies that said, if you look at, if this is a baseline of a 0 stress level of what we're supposed to be at, what happens in our culture nowadays, you think about, you hear the economic woes on the news, you watch the pictures, somebody cuts you off, and what happens is your body increases its stress and then it tries to go back to normal, but unless you do lots of this all the time, what happens is that stress gets stored in your body. So after a while, when you think you're calm and relaxed and normal, you aren't here. Your body's actually carrying stress up here. So we have to find ways to help your body kind of get back down, and the only way to do that I know of is to do some techniques to help you get that stress out. And what we'll do today is we're going to do a couple of short exercises. One is about 2 minutes, just helping you learn how to breathe, and we'll talk about that. And there's another one to help you learn how to teach your mind how to calm down. And another one will be a little bit longer. It'll be about 15 minutes of self-hypnosis, and I'll teach you more about that. But that's what we'll do today, so you can actually experience what does it feel like instead of me just kind of telling you about it. Because unless you have the body experience of it, your body will not necessarily remember it as well. So other warning signs that you're stressed, if you're kind of going through your day, and I love this picture, because there's so many times once in a while where, you're going through your day, you do all your activities, you lay down in bed at night, and all of a sudden you feel like, why am I doing this? What's this about? I'm giving all my energy to other people. I love them, I care for them, but gosh, I'm not doing anything that's fun. I kind of don't even know what fun is. I'm not taking good care of myself. I know that, but I kind of don't have the energy to take care of myself. If you find yourself feeling cynical, or that little snotty comment that you do, that's one of my signs that I'm stressed, is I write little nasty notes like, oh, she should have said this. And then I feel really bad that I put that out there. That's a warning sign that I've got some stress going on. Or if you find that you're kind of getting into those little arguments with people where, you're kind of battling about, well, they said this on the TV show. Well, no, they said that. And if you stand back and you go, really, what does it matter? I'm kind of proving myself. And what is that? That's another sign that I'm carrying lots of stress inside of me. And so I'd like you to be aware of that for yourself and then learn how to do it. Now, the ladies before me did a beautiful job about talking. One of my favorite pastimes is eating my food in front of the TV, which is the worst thing you can do. First of all, whenever you watch TV, your brain goes into this natural trance state. And you go into a trance state lots of times during the day anyway. How you know that you're doing it? Somebody's busy talking to you and you go, huh? What'd you just say? Sorry. Or if you're reading a book and someone is saying, Irene, and I'm like, in the book, oh, did you talk to me? Those are signs that I've gone into trance. It's a natural state. Your brain goes into it lots of times, and your brain goes into it when you're watching TV. So if you're watching TV and you're putting food into your face, what do you think happens to the satisfaction level of appreciating that food? Zippo, right? You don't get to appreciate it because you're in this trance and you're busy putting food into your body. So really watch that a little bit. The other thing that the ladies before me talked about was that when you're eating lots of carbohydrates and sugars and sugar cravings, that's actually hitting a pleasure center in your brain. So a lot of times in our culture, we've gotten so used to relying on things outside of us to make us happy that we get in the habit of using food for that as well. Because anytime you eat chocolate or potato chips, that actually triggers an addictive process in your brain that your brain says, ooh, that was good, I like that, let me do it again. Which is why you may sit down and eat a bag of M&Ms or a bag of chips, but you won't necessarily sit down and eat a bag of broccoli, You won't kind of dig that out and do that for TV. Other warning signs are that you start to use substances as a way to relax. And our culture teaches us, oh, go home, have a glass of wine, put your feet up. And I want women here to be really aware that, once we reach a certain age, and unfortunately that age is about 40, if we drink when we're sad and we drink when we're stressed, our bodies don't handle alcohol the same way that the guys do. So if we sit down, with our partner, or we go out with some friends and we're having, 1 or 2 drinks with them, that's one thing. If we get in the habit of relying on that. But if we get in the habit of relying on it and doing it a little bit more often, a couple times a week, we have a much higher tendency to actually have our bodies physically change and become addicted to needing those substances and learn how to relax. So we'd love to have you learn how to relax, because the disease of becoming dependent on alcohol for relaxation is a very difficult one to manage. And culturally, our culture treats it as like, that's bad, you did that on purpose. But, we also know that some bodies have a predisposition that if you take in substances, that there's a predisposition that your body will actually become where it needs it. And that's what addiction is, where your body starts to need it. So alcohol addiction is not a voluntary, you're a bad girl, you went out and you drank too much. A lot of times it's a predisposition in your body. So I want you to be really aware of that and protect yourselves. So what happens to your body when you have stress, when you get all this stress kind of stuck into you? Your immune system gets decreased, so you're much more susceptible to colds, to other kinds of illnesses that come around the office. We can tell, I work in a hospital that has lots of people in and out, and we can tell how stressed we are, because when one patient walks in with a cold, if we're stressed, it goes through us like wildfire. We do all the handstand, we do all the things that they say, but if we haven't taken care of ourselves, we catch it. Now, if we take good care of ourselves, we're much more immune to resist that. Most of the diseases that doctors talk about, high blood pressure, they talked about women, how, that we have cardiovascular illnesses. Part of my belief is that that's because we just haven't learned how to handle stress. We don't know what to do with the things, and we're so busy. We're busy working, driving, doing all the basics just to get our day going on, is all about taking all that stress and also taking into our hearts. There are techniques that we can do to help you breathe, and we'll do those today, to help you breathe and visualize kind of having your heart relax and breathe. Because if you get in the habit of breathing very comfortably and lovingly into your own heart, that's been proven to have effects on how effective your heart operates and heals. There's a website called HeartMath that actually has equipment that you can buy, it's not expensive, to measure, am I actually breathing into my heart and having my heart heal? And I use that I have a private practice in Barrington, and we also use that at the hospital with our patients, because we found once they've learned how to breathe into their heart with gratitude, that the rest of the body seems to heal a little bit differently. You've heard all the other statistics, ulcers, chronic illnesses, many of which are simply from having having a stress response. What I also want you to appreciate is, I hear this all the time, and I was the first person that told this. As a matter of fact, my mentor is here, so I'm a little nervous. Hi, Dr. Grace, thank you. And I remember going into her, seeing her years ago, and saying, I can't relax, I'm just too busy, and I work this kind of job, and if I'm not, if I'm not on my game, then, I'm just not going to be as successful. And, my body wasn't telling me the same. My body was getting ill over and over. And it took her a lot of convincing to say, Irene, you gotta do it. You just have to do it. I don't care if you do it 5 minutes a day. I don't care if you do it 20 minutes a day, but you have to do it every day. You have to practice relaxing. You have to teach your body the physiological way of releasing the stress. And, you kind of can't go around and do that all the time. As much as it might be a neat thing to do, you can't do that. At least, not in my world. If I do that at the hospital too many times, then they will keep me. But you can have the ability to help your mind and your body unwind. The neat thing is that you're going to use your mind to do this. Your mind is this most powerful computer, and we can feed it garbage and then get stuck into garbage over and over and over. And then that's what creates health. There's direct pictures that we have that we use in the hospital to teach our patients. If I sit there every day and think about something that happened to me that was negative, and I think about something, and maybe, when I'm brushing my teeth, I think, you know what, last Christmas she said this to me, and that really pissed me off, and I never did anything about it. If I have those thoughts and I have them harbor in me over and over again, that actually creates a pattern in my brain. Things that the concept we use is neurons that fire together, wire together. So if I do that over and over, there's actually a pattern in my brain that sets up for this negativity, and then I start to look at the world a little more cynical, a little more upset, a little more jaded, and then that shapes how I view how other actions come to me. So the more I use my brain, and I'll teach you how to do that, the more we can use our brains to help our bodies heal, the easier all of our stress goes away. Much happier and healthier that we can all be. Because your brain has this amazing capacity to remember all kinds of things, right? And that's really good for some things, but it's really bad for others. What it's really good for is that, oh, I went ahead of myself. I'll tell you that in a minute. Patience. Hang on. What I'd like to do first is just start with a very simple technique that everybody can learn to do, and it's to help you learn how to breathe. You know, the spiritual guidance, the people that do spiritual guidance in all cultures, all religions, talk about how the breath actually connects us with our soul. It's the part of us that when we first, come into this life, it's the first thing our physical body does, and it's also the last thing our body does as we exit this life. That last breath that we have. So breathing, if you think about it in a spiritual way, it's a way of nurturing ourselves and nurturing our soul. Now, most of us, myself included, because again, I've done this for a lot of years wrong. I was going to tell you how many, but I'm not ready to admit that yet. My family's here, so they can tell you. When we breathe, many times, sorry about that. Many times, because we want to look skinny, we want to hold in our tummies and look real nice, we breathe up here. We take breaths in up here, and we don't actually go into the part of us that we really want to take our breath into. So abdominal breathing is about thinking about, I'm going to take the breath, and I'm going to bring it down as far as I can into my tummy, and then I want to exhale it, and when I exhale, I want my tummy to kind of go back in. So I actually want the breath. It's actually in the diaphragm and, right at the rib cage, but for a lot of people, if I think about bringing it down to my tummy, it's a lot easier way to breathe. And if I do that and breathe in and then exhale, and we'll all do it together in a minute, if I do that and breathe in and then again and exhale, what I'm actually doing is I'm allowing enough oxygen to get all the way into my lungs, and then as I exhale, I'm allowing myself to really cleanse out all the stuff that gets stored in my lungs when I'm not breathing well. So would you like to do that together? Okay. So how about putting your hand on your stomach? And when you're ready, let's take a nice deep breath in. Feel your stomach go out. And now slowly exhale it. Let's do about 2 more. And 1 more. And did you feel a tiny bit calmer after you did that? Did you find was that hard to do? Is it kind of unusual? Did some people, when you took a breath in, did you find your stomach actually going in? It's kind of reverse breathing. Some people do that. They take in a breath and they try to hold the air up here and suck their stomach in, which is kind of reverse. It doesn't allow everything to flow. There's some research says breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. I kind of don't care which way that you breathe, whatever way is the most comfortable for you. And a way to visualize breathing for yourself, that you can do this. I love doing it at stop signs. It's my favorite thing to do. I love doing it at stop lights. I used to do it with my eyes closed, and I was so grateful that somebody was kind enough to use the horn as a signal to say, Irene, it's time to stop breathing. But then I thought maybe that's not so nice for the people behind me. So I became a little more conscious, and I keep my eyes open and do that. But anytime you want to reset your nervous system, what you can do is you can take 3 nice, really deep breaths in, and if you do the advantage of holding it in between, and hold it for as long as you possibly can, and then slowly let it out, and we'll do that in a minute. If you do that, and you have your eyes focused on something, that will reset your nervous system, because your nervous system has the go, 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 and has the slow, slow, slow. And the go, go, go usually gets really overactive and really busy, and the slow, slow, slow doesn't know how to respond, so the slow, slow, slow sometimes gives up. So this is about kind of helping you balance both parts of your nervous system. So if you like, let's try that again together. When you're ready, focus your eyes somewhere, just on one little spot somewhere, and when you're ready, take a nice breath in. And now hold it Hold it for as long as you possibly can. There's no right or wrong way. Just hold it for as long as you think it's okay for you, and then when you're ready, slowly, slowly let it out. And as you let it out, just kind of imagine all the stress leaving your body. And then another nice deep breath in when you're ready. Again, whatever pace is comfortable for you, hold it. And then again, slowly, slowly let it out. And one more. Hold it. Again, now slowly, slowly let it out. And hopefully, did you feel a little less stress, a little excitement? Another thing you can always do for yourself is envision every time you inhale, you're inhaling relaxation, and every time you exhale stress. Because again, when we use this wonderful computer that we have to sometimes teach our computer how to operate, right? You know, your computer doesn't automatically read your mind and say, this is what I'm going to do. We have to teach our brain the same things. And visualizing nice, healthy energy coming in and then exhaling stress allows parts of our brain to engage and go, okay, I'm going to practice doing that. Because the brain will respond to the things that you teach it. The neat thing that our brain does that helps us learn and grow is it remembers. It remembers, in 5th grade, I, went skateboarding down a hill and there was gravel at the bottom and I hit the gravel and I went splat. So my brain says, you know what, next time you go skateboarding, make sure there's no gravel around. You don't like going splat. That doesn't feel very good. That's a nice part of our brain, and it allows us to learn things. And think about the first time that you drove a vehicle or a car. I learned on a stick shift. Is there anybody old enough to know stick shifts? Yeah, they still make them? Okay, good, thank you. I feel better. Think about the stick shift, right? I remember my dad took me up in a Volkswagen, and one of my first stops was on top of a slight hill. I'm sitting there and I said, wait, there's 3 buttons, there's 3 things, and I have 2 feet. How do you do this? And you have to hurry up and get 1 foot there and 1 foot there, and it was required like all my attention and concentration. And I finally learned how to drive it, and I practiced, and I learned, and I drove, and then after a while, I could have the radio on, and then I could drive and have the radio on and have a conversation. And then I became bad, and I'd have the radio on and a conversation and eat. Now people have the radio and a conversation and eat and text. So please don't text. Your brain just cannot do that. That's taxing it too much. It's too dangerous. But the point is that the brain learned how to do many things, and it learned how to do it over and over again, and that's really good for many tasks. What it's not good for is when we get in the habit of remembering stress or remembering things that have hurt us. Because our brain builds up this path, as I talked about, over and over again, that sometimes is very difficult for us to let go. So we have to practice visualizing health and good things in order to undo that path. The other thing that that our brain does is many times it takes us out of this exact minute. That's why it's called present. It's a gift. It's this exact moment that we have. This is all we're ever guaranteed to have, is this moment. We don't have what's going to happen in the future. Who knows? And when we're robbed of this moment, we actually don't stay in touch with our bodies and allow our bodies to be really healthy. So, how many of you sitting here, and I'm completely guilty of this, we're sitting here and somebody caught me, and she called me on it earlier. Thank you, Sheila. She caught me on it because while I was sitting here listening to these wonderful presentations, I saw a really pretty pink jacket out there, and my brain's going, pink jacket, pink jacket, pink jacket. And so I found myself listening, pink jacket, going kind of back and forth. So that's a warning sign of being stressed, that the brain's kind of bouncing around quite a bit. So it takes some work, but we can always bring our brain into this present moment and learn how to just kind of help it unwind. And again, the more we do that, the more it's going to help our stress kind of bounce around. Because I don't know if you're one of those people, I'm kind of like this way sometimes, that the minute my head hits the pillow, I come up with the best ideas in the world. I know how to cook, I know how to do everything, and I just sit there and the brain goes like that. So if you have that, there's, unfortunately in our culture, that a lot of people say, well, go take a pill. Well, I don't kind of want to rely on pills. I want to learn how to teach my brain so that I can have control of it when I need to have control over it. I don't want it to just kind of race and run away on me again. So one of the techniques for doing that is something called mindfulness. And we'll practice this in a minute. Mindfulness is about learning, how do I pay attention to something and really focus all my attention on that? How do I do that? And the more I do it, if I do it in little bits, it gets easier and easier, and then my brain kind of learns this pattern. Just like golfing. You know, if you think about, I attempted golf, it was not a good thing. And, but, you know, I'm amazed at how much these people do all this practice over and over again just to get this little ball into a cup. You know, I don't understand it, but I guess it's really good. But there's a lot of things that happen. The whole body kind of gets into a rhythm. But that's about teaching the brain, again, how to respond and flow. So there's, if you ever wanted to learn more about how to do mindfulness, there's this gentleman, Dr. John Kabat-Zinn, wrote a billion books, and he has a billion CDs, full catastrophe living, you know, wherever you go, there you are. But it's about teaching our go, 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 pace, 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 you know, 24-hour-a-day culture to learn how to slow down and just pay attention to one thing and one thing and one thing. Because if we do that, we're going to do them very well, and we're going to do them very differently. So what I'd like you to do, what I'm going to ask, is if you can, kind of put all your stuff down, allow yourself to sit comfortably, maybe uncross everything so that your body can get all unwound a little bit. And just allow yourself for a moment, and if you feel okay, close your eyes, or if not, just kind of look down so this can be a very private experience for yourself. And just allow yourself to take a nice breath in and exhale the breath. And we're going to do a little breathing for about 2 minutes, just so that your body can remember what does it feel like. So just with your eyes down now, just focus on the breath coming into your body. And when you're ready, allow the breath to exhale from your body. And bring all of your attention to your breath now. Just observe what the breath feels like. Maybe there's a coolness along the side of your nose as you inhale. And maybe there's a warmth along the side of your nose as you exhale. And just keep your attention on your breath for a moment. And shift your attention to what it feels like to sit on the chair. What it feels like to have the back on the chair, and your legs. Observe what it feels like to have your feet on the ground. And now just gently shift your attention back to your breath. Be aware of your breath. Again, what it feels like into your body. And if you want, maybe visualize inhaling comfort and exhaling stress. Inhaling serenity and exhaling stress. And if your mind wanders, that's okay. Just bring it back to your body, back to the breath. And now, just allow yourself to stay with your breathing. And in about 30 seconds from now, allow yourself to open your eyes. And welcome back into the room. Did you find yourself when you were doing that? Were you hearing things? You know, oh, I hear something out there, or maybe I did or didn't. This is all about just teaching your brain to kind of come back at your control and your command back to your body. The nice thing about learning to do this is that your brain doesn't know the difference between things you visualize and remember or teach it versus what's actual and physical. So an example is when you practice this technique over and over. I do this with a group of therapists and psychologists and doctors, and the lady, the shaman who was guiding us, instructing us on how to do this, actually had us imagine we were on a beach in Hawaii, and that it was really warm, and the room was about 90 degrees, so it was warm anyway. And she said it's kind of warm, and she had us imagine that the sun was beating down on us, and it was kind of baking our skin when we were feeling it. And she had us do this for a few minutes, and those of the people that were very good at practicing this experience, after a while, their face actually turned and became all, I gotta quit doing that. Their face became all flushed, as if the sun had been beating down on it. And that's simply the body's way of responding. And I'm sure you've seen the Channel 5 News or one of the other news stations when they show the Tibetan monks that go out, you know, with a very little cloth, and they go sit in the snow and cross their legs and breathe for a while, you know, for a long period of time, like an hour or two. If you and I went out into the snow and sat breathing for a couple of hours, what do you think would happen? Hypothermia, we'd freeze to death, right? But they have the ability from doing this of teaching their body how to unwind and respond, and they set that my body will be fine and I'll have the heat you know, within my body encased and I'll be okay. So there's lots of articles, there's tons of websites that you can look at if you ever question this, because what research has shown over and over again is the more we practice using our mind to control our body, the more that we can use it and the healthier that we can be. We'll have people that will actually go into a dentist's office. I had taught a patient how to unwind, and she was very afraid, hated dentists, was terrified, and had to get a tooth pulled. And she'd never done that without, you know, a lot of drugs and a lot of things. And she said that she used a relaxation tape and went into the dentist's offices and said, I'm going to do this without medications and without numbing medications, because there were health reasons why she shouldn't have a lot of medications. Because she had an addiction, and getting some of the relaxation medications would trigger her addiction, and she didn't want to risk doing that. So she went in there and had a tooth pulled. I mean, a big, you know, back of the mouth kind of tooth pulled. And she said the only part of it that was really tough, she said when the guy's kind of going like this and, you know, shaking, she goes, that was a little weird when I was hearing kind of the crunch and the pulling. She says, but the nice thing is, she says, it didn't bother me. I could feel there was a little something, but it was like, okay. You know, it was uncomfortable. Am I going to go do it every day? But she said when he was done, it was like, I can't believe how much I could use my mind to undo pain. And we've been doing this for centuries anyway. If anybody went through Lamaze, you know, that's simply about teaching the body how to breathe and unwind. So using your brain to control your body is a very awesome technique. It's also a wonderful technique to help you become much more open to your divine presence, your soul, your wise self, whatever you call your connection to spirituality and connection to all the others in the earth. Meditation is a part of mindfulness and practice that allows you to use these practices and set an intention and ask for guidance, and then allows you to bring in your own as some would say, your own reality. It allows you to bring in the good of the universe so that you can help yourself unwind and become connected with why are you really here on this earth. You know, I would be very sad if I thought I was here on this earth to get up, go to my job, feed my family, eat, watch TV, go to bed. If I thought that was all what my life was about, you know, I kind of get a little bummed out. But knowing that I have a connection, that I have people that I love, that I can see them, talk to them, feel connected with them, you know, that's an awesome technique. And sometimes when we have patterns of stress in our brain, we aren't fully open to receiving all the good that all the people around us give. And I love that example that that lady did, to have you look at the person next to you and say, is that person good? Is there something nice about that person? Can you observe something nice about the person next to you? We do that, but then we don't always bring it into ourselves. So meditation to me is about allowing you to bring all that good into yourself. And there's many techniques for doing it. There's prayer, there's sitting quietly. There's also doing the kind of technique that we just did of focusing on breathing and getting your body calm. And there's other techniques that have been around in other cultures to help center the body a little bit different. Centering the body by using a sound. Ah is the sound of creation, and Om is actually the sound of the entire universe. It's the sound of creation, it's the sound of connection with transformation, connection with higher power, connection with whatever good, whatever you call your connection with the universe. And practicing that sound and doing that over and over again, or repeating your name over and over again, is a way to help center your brain and allow your whole body to become connected with something greater than yourself. If you'd like. No, we don't have time, so what I will ask you to do, or consider doing for yourself at some point, is maybe sit quietly and do that breathing and that unwinding exercise for yourself, and then practice just saying either your name, the name of your higher power, the name Ah. And Ah is actually the name of a higher power in all cultures. It's God, Allah, Buddha, Jesus, Shiva, Raj. All higher powers have that name Ah in it. So one of the things to help your whole body unwind is just sit and take a breath in, and then just say the name Ah. And if you do that, what you'll find is your whole body kind of vibrates a little bit differently, and that vibration is an awesome way of relieving stress, but it's also a way of just helping things calm down. Now, when I put this slide up, this is where some people kind of go, hypnosis, chickens. That's not the intention. Self-hypnosis is a natural state that you go into. You do it all the time. Do you ever drive, like start to head to the Jewel and get there and go, oh my God, how did I get here? Or did you ever drive along the expressway, you're on a long road trip and you go, oh, I missed my exit like 3 exits ago. How did that happen? That's a really natural state that your body goes into. It goes into just before you're going to sleep. And you kind of go into this nice kind of trance state. And you see kids doing it. Have you ever watched a child playing those, I don't know what the current games are, they're Game Boys, but a lot of research shows that when kids play those little games, it triggers a trance state in them, and that's why it's so hard to break them away. It also does the same thing with TV for all of us, which is why we kind of want to be really careful of what we let our younger people watch, because if they're watching violence and videos, it's kind of imprinting the stuff on their poor little brains that says this is normal. So self-hypnosis is about creating a state for yourself that you can bring in to help you do kind of relax. And by learning how to do it intentionally rather than accidentally, can bring in a whole different level of relaxation. Now, when I first brought the word hypnosis to the hospital, it was not a good thing. The hospital kind of looked at it and went, oh, mind control, what's going to happen? We're going to be sued, our patients, this will be really, scary. But the more we practiced it, and the more we did it with our patients, the more the hospital went, this is really neat. And now we can actually use the H word in a psychiatric hospital. And we can say self-hypnosis. Because self-hypnosis is you are in total control. You teach your body, and your mind allows you to relax as much as you choose to allow it to relax. And some people say, I'm never going to relax, I'm not going to do it. And that's the exact result that they get. Never going to relax, never going to do it. Yet self-hypnosis is about, again, teaching your brain to say, you know what, I want to relax, I want to unwind a little bit, and I'm going to walk you through something now that hopefully will help you relax. It's about 15 minutes, and it's designed to help you kind of create a couple of things for yourself. It's about having you use those 3 breaths that we practiced earlier to allow your body to kind of release some tension, get the nervous system balanced. I'm going to do a little countdown to help you just kind of ease down a little bit. I help you visualize a very safe place for yourself that you can return to and feel comfortable using your imagination so that you can have something really nice and very unique and pleasant for yourself. And then we'll kind of come back up. This will take about 15 minutes, so we'll have room for questions. And before I start this visualization, I wanted to I want to set a very intense thank you to my wonderful husband who sat here, and I made a DVD, or a CD, that's what they're called. I made a CD for each of you to take home. They're on the back table. And what I did is I'm using the same thing that we did now, and I recorded it. And it has copyrighted music on it. So I contacted the lady that made the music. Her name is Joanna Burns-Miller, and I have her name at the end of this thing so you don't have to write it down. She made this beautiful song called Desert Flower that I just love. And then I found out there's this copyright law thing that if I make it and then give it to you, I've broken the law. So I was lucky enough to talk to her, and she gave us permission to use it for today. Not only use it, but to put it on the CD. So I'm so honored that she would do that. And I'm deeply grateful because this man I'm married to is a saint who sat there for 6 hours yesterday going dink, dink, every 3.5 minutes, dink, making the CDs for all of you. So please feel free to take them. And then on the back table also, I made a one-page sheet that has these techniques written down in little bullet points to help you remember. Because I know when I do this and I go home and I think, what did she say? What was that middle part? That way you don't have to worry about remembering it.